A single shot and a single gesture catapulted Scarlett Johansson to legendary status in the film industry. In 2014, a sci-fi movie burst onto the scene, putting forward a crazy idea. When the human brain is developed to 100%, it will completely break free from the constraints of the physical body. With a production cost of nearly $40 million, the film grossed a staggering $460 million worldwide, becoming a phenomenal work. During the initial preparation stage, it was widely speculated that the leading actress would be Angelina Jolie. Director Luc Besson later clarified that after auditioning many actors, he was deeply impressed by Scarlett's on-screen presence. As it turned out, the director had a keen eye. At that time, although Scarlett was well known for her role as Black Widow, she had always been active as a supporting actress. Lucy was her first commercial blockbuster as the leading actress, which also propelled her into the ranks of A-list actresses and brought her great success. The story takes place in Taiwan Province. Lucy is an American girl living here. Her daily life consists of hanging out with friends and dating boys, leading an ordinary and casual life. One day, a boyfriend she had just known for a week took her to a hotel, handed her a mysterious suitcase, and asked her to help deliver it to the hotel reception, promising to give her $500 as a reward afterwards. Lucy was filled with reluctance and suspicion, vaguely feeling that something was wrong, but she was forcibly handcuffed by her boyfriend in her resistance and had no choice. Until she walked into the hotel, she still didn't know what was in the suitcase, only shrouded in a strong sense of foreboding. Director Luc Besson used an exquisite montage technique. At the moment Lucy walked into the hotel, the scene interspersed with shots of a cheetah preparing to hunt an antelope, clearly conveying to the audience, Lucy at this moment was just like the antelope about to fall into the tiger's mouth, full of the ignorance and nervousness of a prey. As soon as Lucy explained her purpose to the receptionist, a group of aggressive gangsters walked over. From their eyes, Lucy could clearly feel that they were targeting her. She subconsciously looked to her boyfriend outside the door for help, but witnessed her boyfriend being shot and killed by the gangsters on the spot. Unprecedented fear and shock swept over her instantly. At this moment, she completely became a prey at the mercy of the gangsters. On the way being escorted, Lucy was still trapped in the great shock of her boyfriend's death. The sound of the gunshot and the image of her boyfriend lying in a pool of blood almost completely shattered her spirit, and more cruel experiences were yet to come. She was taken into a luxurious suite, but what greeted her eyes was a room full of corpses, including a man who was still twitching and not yet dead. Overwhelmed by fear, Lucy couldn't hold back any longer and vomited violently, not only out of fear, but also a physiological rejection. Her body was resisting the blood and violence in front of her in the most primitive way. The gang leader ordered Lucy to open the suitcase in a cold tone. The room was full of gangsters with guns. Lucy, who couldn't speak the language, had no room to resist and could only obey. Her hands were trembling. Although she didn't know what was in the suitcase, she knew well the consequences of not opening it. This scene had extremely high requirements for Scarlett's performance. She needed to perfectly convey the identity change from an ordinary person to a victim, with only facial expressions and body language, without almost any lines, and fully show the fear, helplessness, and despair in her heart. When the gang leader's men dragged a drug addict with a dull gaze into the room, Lucy still didn't realize her upcoming fate. Within a few minutes, she witnessed the complete loss of control of a human being under the influence of drugs. That uncontrolled madness was actually a reverse preview of Lucy's future fate. The same drug brought destruction and death to this man. But to Lucy, due to an accidental and milder absorption method, it would eventually bring the complete development and transformation of her brain. Subsequently, the gang leader shot and killed the drug addict, who was in madness, turned around and forcibly arranged a job for Lucy. Before Lucy could refuse, one of the men punched her unconscious, and she completely lost consciousness. When Lucy woke up again, she was lying on a hotel bed, with a faint stabbing pain in her abdomen. On the iron plate beside the bed were blood-stained medical cotton and disinfectant. Before she could react, she was taken to the gang leader by his men. There were 3 other people in the same situation as her. The gang not only implanted drugs in their bodies, but also threatened them with the safety of their families to control their every move. At this time, Lucy had no ability to resist and could only be forced to accept this cruel reality. Subsequently, several people were put on hoods and prepared to be transported to Europe. During the detention period, the gangster boy guarding Lucy had evil intentions towards her. After Lucy bravely refused, she was violently beaten by the angry boy, and her abdomen was severely hit. It was this beating that caused the drug package sewn in her abdomen to rupture, and the blue drugs seeped into her blood. As the drugs spread in her body, Lucy's brain began to be slowly developed. A strange power ran wild in her body, like countless electric currents, surging along the nerves, and her body even gradually broke free from the constraints of gravity and floated upward uncontrollably. After a period of painful struggle, Lucy gradually took control of her body and quickly calmed down. In a very short time, she transformed from a lamb to be slaughtered into a power user with no emotional fluctuations. Soon after, another gangster also had bad intentions towards her. Lucy, who had been expressionless all the time, suddenly showed a meaningful smile and took the initiative to invite the man. Unable to resist, the gangster put down his pistol and approached. Lucy then acted in one go, subduing him in less than 10 seconds. Then picked up the pistol and walked out of the cage calmly. With the improvement of brain development, Lucy's physical functions were greatly enhanced. In the process of killing several gangsters, her movements were quick and precise, but such high-intensity movements were a huge burden on her newly transformed body. She urgently needed to take in high-calorie food to maintain the energy required for the operation of her brain and muscles. She was shot during the fight, but the pain had become extremely weak for her. She looked down expressionlessly, inserted her fingers into the wound, and pulled out the bullet forcefully. Then she quickly counted the equipment and checked the ammunition, moving as calmly as a precision instrument. After doing all this, Lucy walked through the messy gang den and swaggered onto the street, then took a taxi to the hospital. At this time, her hearing had become extremely sharp, and she could clearly distinguish various sounds that ordinary people could not capture in the distance. Whether it was the shouts of vendors, the whispers of passengers in adjacent cars, or even extremely subtle private conversations, all could be heard word for word. This was the most obvious change in her. Her brain no longer processed information in the way of ordinary people, but could directly penetrate the surface and touch the essence of things. After arriving at the hospital, her vision also broke through the limitations of physical space, just by looking up at the Chinese characters on the sign. Those unfamiliar characters were automatically converted into English on her retina. She held a gun and walked straight into an operating room where doctors were struggling to save a dying patient. Lucy didn't even look at it for a second. Her eyes were firmly locked on the brain CT scan on the wall. The next second, she pulled the trigger and ended the patient's life. Before the doctors could recover from the shock, she had neatly changed into a hospital gown and lay on the still warm operating table as if she was the protagonist of the operation. The most direct physiological change in Lucy was the loss of pain sensation. She asked the doctor to perform the operation without anesthesia and could clearly instruct the doctor where to make the incision, which also confirmed that she could fully control the pain nerves of her body. During the operation, Lucy made a phone call to her mother, recalling the taste of her mother's milk, the kisses on her face, and the feeling of stroking a cat. This affectionate confession was the last and most sincere expression of emotion as an ordinary person, and it also made her clearly realize for the first time that this brain evolution came at the cost of consuming her life.